Hi, everybody. I'm Gingergentile, the director of Erasing Family, and I wanted to say thank you for everybody who has joined us tonight. You are free to ask questions at any time. Just write them in the comments sections, and I'll get to them. This video will also be posted on our Facebook page and website after it's done, so you can always go back and look at it, share it with people, and I'm so grateful to have you all here. So first things first is I want to share some amazing good news about the film before we get into today's topic, which is how to create a winning movement for family court reform or family court abolition, depending on how you look at it. So the first thing is that we have pretty much finished filming the Erasing Family documentary. This is very exciting. I say pretty much because there's always one or two things that maybe you have to go film, but we have secured an amazing post-production team. We're going to be announcing it soon on our website and our newsletter. We have Sean Jarrett, who edited the film Holy Hell, which premiered in Sundance 2016. He also edited another film that was in Sundance 2018. And we're so excited to have him on as the editor of Erasing Family. He has begun looking at the footage and he says it's amazing and very powerful. We also have Douglas Flush, who will be a supervising editor, and his films have been nominated 7 times for the Academy Award, and I believe he's won once, and he's won too many Emmys to count, and been nominated way too many times. So that is like super amazing that they believe in this project, that they're taking a chance on a not very well-known director, myself, and that they're very moved by this topic. And I think it's very easy, this is why I wanted to do this episode, as erased parents, as erased family members, as activists, to get very frustrated and very discouraged sometimes. But by changing the way we talk about this issue, we can start seeing many more results. We can start seeing a change in the way society views divorce and separation. How people can shift from saying, well, it's normal that a kid doesn't talk to one of their parents. It's normal to use the kids to get back to the other parent, to saying this is a public health crisis that can be stopped. So now that I've shared the great news about our award-winning team that will be helping with the film, I want to share some other amazing news. We'll be having an event in Washington, D.C. on June 8th. So June 8th, Washington, D.C., we will be having a fundraiser for Erasing Family. I will be there, so will Dr. Craig Childress, so will Dorsey Pruder, and I am working to bring in reunited erased families to share their stories, people who have been in the film. So that will be a fundraiser, but so we can continue doing such great work, and we've had so much support. This week, 2 people came on as associate producers, meaning they made a donation of $1,000 or more. And last week we had Chrissy Smith come on as a star associate producer, which means she donated $5,000. Thank you, Chrissy Smith of Pennsylvania. But what's really exciting is that all of these resources are going to be used to create a very powerful impact campaign that will bring our message to schools, to families, to politicians. And with this award-winning team behind the film, there's really no limit to what we can reach, and really changing the way people perceive this issue. So again, June 8th, Washington, D.C., fundraising event, and also be combined with Dr. Childress and Wendy Archer Perry and Rod McCall presenting a petition to the APA asking that they recognize this form of child abuse in kids. Now, and then the other thing I wanted to say is, please, if you haven't already, go to erasingfamily.org, click on Share Your Story, and upload a video tribute for your child that you can see. You can make as many videos as you want. You can have other family members make videos. And what's great about this is that anyone has the chance to be in the film, and we're also going to be using these videos to make short videos, share them, but we really need to get a lot. And right now we only have 40, and what surprises me is so many people contact me and they're like, wait a minute, Ginger, I really want to be in the documentary. And I say, great, go to erasingfamily.org, click on Share Your Story, and share your story. And that's how we're going to see if stories are viable for the film, and also we can use these videos to be in the film. And then a lot of people don't do it. And I completely understand if you can't, But if you want to get your story out there, this platform is super easy. You can use your smartphone, you can use your webcam, you can review the video after it's done. So if you don't like it or if the sound isn't good, you don't have to upload it. So again, erasingfamily.org, share your story. Please make a video, make as many as you want. If you want to make 10 videos for your kids, it's A-okay. And again, Washington, D.C. the event on June 8th. So Kendra Hill just committed to sharing her story. Does anybody else want to commit to sharing their story on erasingfamily.org, ideally within the next week or so, because we're getting close to post-production. If anybody else wants to share their story, please write it in the comments so I can say thank you in advance. So obviously, I'm not interested in making a film to make a film. There's a lot of stories that interest me out there. I'm interested in making a film that can be used to help families because I don't want any kid to suffer from divorce as I did as a teen. And my story is so melodramatic. Amanda McDowell said, maybe, tell me what's holding you back, Amanda. Are you scared? Because we don't want anybody to have any consequences, or do you just not know how? Type it in about why you're not willing. You're still on the fence about sharing your story. This film and this movement and all the educational tools that we're providing are a tool for people to use to educate the public about why family erasure is such a big problem, why it must end, why it's a public health crisis, and also to reach out to children who have been erased from their parents' lives and giving them a road and give us a roadmap, giving them a roadmap to reunite. So brief pause, Kendra Hill, give us directions on how detailed. So Kendra, go to the website, erasingfamily.org, click on share your story, there's directions there, and there's a survey where you can get in detail about your story, and that's private, but the video is 3 minutes long, and it's a tribute of love to your kids, saying why you miss them and what your hopes were with the future. Not talking about your ex, not explaining your case. It's what you could say to your kid if you had him for 2 minutes in front of you. And there's plenty of good examples, and click through the videos, see which ones you would respond to as a kid, and those are the ones that you would, you should copy in a way, and the ones that are like, so Marcel Susan, she just asked, why does it cost $50 to donate 1,000? What is the process fee? Is it better to send a check? Yes, you can send a check, and that is because anytime you donate with a credit card, there's always a processing fee. So you can say, I will cover that charge. So that way we don't absorb the charge, or you could say, I don't want to cover the charge, and then we just take it out of your donation and pay the credit card processing fees. So it's completely up to you, but you can donate by check. I'll be in contact with you. So about creating a movement. This isn't the first film I made about this topic. This is my third feature film, and the first film I made about divorce is called Erasing Dad. It came out in 2014 in Argentina, where I was living for 12 years. And what was amazing about the film is that it took an issue that was completely taboo in Argentina. You think nobody in the US and Canada and Europe is talking about this issue. In Argentina, it was 10 times worse. In fact, if a psychologist used the word parental alienation in a report, they would lose their license. And people just assume if you can't see your kids, it's because you must have done something really, really bad. And what we did with the film is we gave people new vocabulary. So instead of saying parental alienation, we used the term family bond obstruction, and also victims of judicial violence, of institutional violence. And people started to use these terms to better communicate. But one of the most important lessons I took from that film, and I think this is so important, we can look at what changed the debate with the Florida school shooting massacre as a great example, is you make an argument that you welcome people to be on the other side, because if they oppose your argument, they're the ones who are going to sound bad. So when in this film, I'm interviewing children who are talking about the harm that they suffered from being erased and how wonderful it was to reunite with their parents. Now, if someone wants to argue against the kids and say, no, it was great for you that you couldn't see a parent for 18 years who loved you. No, you don't understand. Lawyers have to make money, and it's bad that you were collateral damage. No, you don't understand. Not all kids have a right to a parent. No, you don't understand. Maybe your parent really was bad. No, you don't understand. Your parent made mistakes and you had to pay the price. If people want to go there, if people don't want, if people want to argue against the kids who are going to be in this film, great. I don't have to make any arguments. I just have to sit back, and you and everyone else in the film, we just have to sit back and let them make the arguments, and the public will go, they're arguing against kids who missed a parent, a loving parent, and talking about how much it harmed them and now how grateful they are that they were reunited. Why would you do that? And I think that's something that's very important when we make our arguments. Instead of being bogged down in details and fighting every battle where we get attacked, choosing our statements and sticking to it, and letting the people who are against us, which each day is less and less and less, make the arguments that hurt their side. Make the arguments that sound ridiculous. Make the arguments that show they really don't have the children's best interest at heart. And I think that is so key, because I hear a lot of talk about rights. Father's rights, mom's rights, parents' rights. And the only rights that matter is children's rights. And if we can change the way we present this, as opposed to getting bogged down in legal terms, psychological terms that most people don't understand, initials that people don't understand, if we just talk and tell a story from the heart, even people who you think wouldn't support you do. And one thing that I found out from talking about this film to different people is that when I came at it from a policy perspective and talking about all the people who make money and the government subsidies and Title IV, people would doubt me and their eyes would glaze over. But when I would look at them and say, you know what my film Erasing Family is about? It's about children who grow up believing that a parent didn't love them, abandoned them, wasn't fit to raise them. And people go, oh my God, that's sad. They go, but then they turn 18 and they find out that that wasn't true. That parent did everything to be in that kid's life and the family courts erased them. And then people go, my God, that's horrible. That's tragic. They're crying. But if I went out from a different perspective, they would just say, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. It sounds, it sounds crazy. So let's just, always focus on the kids and always focus on how we can share. So if anybody has any questions about how to share a message and build a movement, please write them in the comments section. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Reveal the hypocrisy of the other arguments. Gently, with politeness, but always talk about how, well, what's best for children, the research shows that they have contact with both parents and both parents are fit. We all know that family courts make too much money. So people say, well, each judge has to decide each case on its individual merits and et cetera. But that's not how lots of things are decided. Child support isn't decided on the merits. Child support is decided by a formula. So why can't we do the same for custody? And I think this is very important, to keep our message as simple as possible, to always speak with love, and to create a message that if someone argues against you, let them have it, because everyone else will be shocked that they're saying that. They will be shocked that they're arguing against the voices of children, shocked that they're arguing against common sense. With our film Erasing Dad in Argentina, we revealed in the film very esteemed family court professionals, lawyers, advocates, social workers, psychologists, saying that they would do anything to keep a father out of the kids' lives, even if he didn't do anything wrong, because fathers are bad. The worst place for a child is their own home because of the presence of the male father. Now, most people, when they heard that, were like, really? Why would they say that? That's ridiculous. I mean, there's some bad dads, there's some bad moms, but most kids, I liked my dad. I had a good relationship with him. What are you talking about? This is crazy. And we got so attacked. I mean, the film got censored. My phones got tapped. The president got involved of Argentina at one point. because the divorce industry, as you all know, moves so much money. But all we had to do was state our point and let the other side argue. When they censored the film, it's like, do good guys censor films? Why don't they come and debate? They say, well, we can't debate with you because you're so evil. It's like, okay, well, we're here to debate. When you want to debate, we'll debate against an empty chair. And for a lot of people, it was just revealing the other side without calling them names, without going to crazy statistics, without personally attacking people. Just by letting them talk. Picking the sides to argue. So instead of being very rigid when you make your arguments, just focus on the base underlying beliefs. And that's very important too, because a lot of people ask me about my opinion about legislation or psychological treatments. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legislator. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm definitely not a psychologist. But I can say from talking to so many kids, all the kids I've talked to wish that they had more equal time with their parents growing up. They wish there was less conflict. They wish they weren't dragged into court. And that's where we have to just be a message of love. And I want to tell you a lesson I learned from Chile. So Chile got the Chilean Congress to unanimously approve a joint custody bill. And the way they did that is they said the old custody bill in Chile was a law from the Victorian times, which it was. It said that mothers had to take care of the children, but fathers had all decision making and no rights whatsoever to see the kids. So it's very easy to say, that sounds antiquated. Is that the society we want to live in? It sounds very sexist and horrible. Like the woman has to do all the burdens, but she can't decide where to send the kids to school, their medical care, but she has to do everything the father wants, but the father has no right to see the kids. Craziness. And all this is about love. And they actually named their organization Parents Love. And they would have teddy bears there and say, don't we want to expand love and give kids more access to love? Everyone goes, yeah, I'm count me down for more love. Who's against love? And just by saying this is obvious and we're going to win, as opposed to being attacked, you gain space. And people are more likely to listen to you because people always, especially now in these times, people look for positive, inspiring messages of hope. Please, if you have any questions or comments about how to message and build up a campaign, let me know. You can write them in the comment bar. The other thing that I learned from our film in Argentina, and I think this is very important, is that you need to form a coalition of different groups and people. You don't need to get everybody on the same platform or group. So about, I would say almost twice a week, yesterday it was like 3 times, people invite me to join their groups. And sometimes it's about writing legislative reform, it's about creating another documentary series, it's about, a support group in a certain geographical area. And I would say, I think what you're doing is great, but I know how to do this one thing, and the people I work with know how to do this one thing, which is messaging, which is press trainings, getting packets out there, helping people tell their stories, changing the way society views an issue, communicating with young people. I don't know how to write a bill. And people need to do what they're good at, and everybody has their own talent. I remember one thing that really struck with me from my time in Argentina. When we were making the documentary, it took us 3 years to make. And we were working with a group of parents who can't see their kids. The producer also at that time was on year 10 of no contact whatsoever with his daughter. And they were getting very frustrated that the film was taking so long. I mean, that's how long documentary films take, basically. And they decided that they were going to make their own TV series. So they got their little camcorders and started filming each other, complaining in their cars about not being able to see their kids and crying. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. They put it on YouTube, it got 50 views, right? But what happened, and what I thought was like very odd about that, was one of the people who made these videos owned a printing press. He was the owner of a printing press, a huge warehouse with, the best printing materials, printing machines, I don't know what they are. But, like real professional printing press. He had a team of graphic designers. He could make banners, magazines. And the whole time I was like, wait a minute, why are you trying to make television content which you don't know how to do? which you have no experience with, when you have a whole printing press and staff at your disposal that can make flyers, banners, magazines, pamphlets for free, because he was very clear with us many times, oh, I have all these leftover materials and my staff, it doesn't cost me anything to make a magazine. What if he had spent that time creating a magazine for family court professionals about the latest research and stories from children, distributed it? That would be much more effective. So it's important that everybody finds something that they're good at. Some people are very good. I met one woman, she's out there, Sherry Toner. She's excellent wearing a t-shirt and then going up to every person she meets and talking to them about this issue and how she can't see her kids and how the family courts don't work. I would be horrible at that, and I find that very stressful to go up to random people and talk to them about stuff. I would be horrible at doing that. If Sherry was like, you just need to put on a t-shirt, Ginger, just go out there and talk to everybody in the supermarket about this issue, I'd be like, oh God, please don't make me do that. That sounds like the most stressful thing. But she was great at it. She is great at it. So it's very important that each person finds what they're good at, finds their niche, find where their resources are. Like lobbying is a very specific skill. People are always like, we have to go to the Senate and, you know, pass a bill. But knowing how legislation gets passed, not only how a bill has to be written and the procedures, which is one level, but how it really gets passed and how politicians trade votes and chummy and donations and votes and all that, that's a skill that not everybody has. I certainly don't have it. And the people who are good at that should do that. And then we can all support each other in a coalition. But every day I get like, we're going to form this one group and everyone should come under it. And it's like, but each group does every different thing, you know, and is good at different things. So just to recap, the importance of having a message that's clear, that is about love, and that the other side, if they argue against you, they look bad, so you don't have to do the work, you don't have to personally attack anybody. Amanda McDowell says, a lot of people don't understand and judge divorce is worth a lot of money. It's so true, and people have a lot of misconceptions about divorce. But if you start off with, imagine good fit parents who have to spend tons of money and time fighting to see their kids. Does that sound good to you? And if someone says, yeah, that sounds great to me, they're in the minority. Don't argue with them. Let them speak. They're revealing their own hypocrisy. You don't have to personally attack them. I think that's one of the main lessons about building a successful movement. And the other thing is that it's very different to what you have to do in your personal life to reunite with your kids and how you have to present yourself in public. Everyone's case has a lot of shades of gray. Everybody's, like a lot of times, you know, one of the best advices I've heard is, you know, to reunite with your kids, you should ask them, you know, for their forgiveness and ask what you've done to wrong them so you can right it. And of course, maybe you haven't done anything wrong, maybe you're the victim, but that's the type of dialogue you have to engage in with your children. But that's not, these shades of gray aren't what you talk about when you're talking publicly about this, right? You need to be able to distill what you want in a 30-second soundbite and not say we need to reform CPS, family court, Title IV, blah, 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 this and that, and Kafkas and CASA, and which people don't understand what it is and they get overwhelmed. I was saying we need to ensure that children have access to both of their parents when they're loving and fit. And right now the system punishes loving and fit parents who want to be in their kids' lives. And a lot of people are making money off of it. Boom. You talk to the details about the people who want the details. The other thing that I've been noticing is that when you want to, that one thing that every movement needs is professionals who are not directly affected helping and organizing, doing research, writing bills, policy, etc. So that means psychologists need to be doing research and finding out the best treatment protocols. Lawyers need to be writing laws and looking into family courts about how things can be reformed even without a legislation push by the way they allocate resources, for examples. University professors. So I just got someone here, Brian Van Allen. Go to Supreme Court of the United States in DC, go to docket cases, type in my name, Brian Val Alkins, see what shows. So Brian, you're asking me to go to DC and type in your name. Is there a way that you could sum up what you want to say? Here's a challenge, take your time, Brian. In one sentence, what you want to say, because that's the thing, you know, politicians, busy people, they're not going to take the time to investigate your case. The day that you throw data at a reporter and they Watergate it and try to find out the scandal and go to the source, that's over. You have to be very concise and clear with your message. And if you can't do that, let someone other speak on your behalf. Because everybody who can't see their kid has been traumatized. You know, everybody who's suffering isn't ready to do this work, isn't ready maybe to build a movement, isn't ready to wait and be professional, and that's okay. Support the other people who can and maybe work up to it. But you can't sound crazy and you can't sound desperate. Even if you're desperate to see your kids, remember, political organization and building a movement is not about trying to solve your case as quickly as possible. It's about making sure that what happened to you and your kids doesn't happen to anybody else. Even takes a lot of work and time. And the motivation might be your children, but if your time clock is your children, it's going to make you desperate. And so many professionals don't want to work with parents who are going through this because they scream at them. They send them emails that are angry, that are demanding, that are insulting, that use curse words. And if you want to get professionals involved, you need to act professionally, treat them professionally. So they want to work with you, so they see you as victims. Thanks, Brian. Love your message. Thank you. This has to be so clear. So it's like my case doesn't involve CPS or district attorney. The bar corporation is the problem. Can you say it a little more clear? Like you're just throwing me SCOTUS, Supreme Court. What does SCOTUS mean? I know what it means, but a lot of people don't. Like, what is your clear message? And anyone can present to the Supreme Court, but is the Supreme Court looking at it? Because that's news. Practice your message. Find people who don't know your story and try to explain it to them. Try to explain it to them in less than a minute, less than 5 sentences. Do they understand it? Are they intrigued? Do they want to know more, or do they want you to stop and shut up? Practice with people you don't know. Waiters, bus drivers, teachers, people at parties. Another way to do this is to say, instead of telling about your story, say, I have a friend who this happened to, and see how people react. Do they express sympathy, or do they say they must have done something wrong? And that will give you ideas about how to explain things better. So just to recap from the last section, it's important to have a clear, simple message and to express that message concisely and simply and professionally and calmly. And if you get attacked, don't attack back. The other side, by showing their teeth, reveals everything. You don't have to do anything. Lastly, it's that movements take a lot of time and resources to build. I always think about the civil rights movement in the United States. So the civil rights movement actually began in the 1930s, and one of the things they did in the 1930s was begin to train lawyers in the 1930s, we're in law school, to eventually argue Supreme Court cases 20 to 30 years later. That's the long-term vision a movement had. Again, a movement won't get your kids back. A movement is to ensure this won't happen to anybody else. And people often want to skip steps. If you don't have a good grassroots organization, no politician will be interested in supporting you because they don't see where the votes are going to come from. Because politicians want to support stuff that they know will win them more votes. So it's very important to be aware that things don't happen in months. They might happen in years. They unfortunately might happen in decades. But the more that people consistently can plan to move forward, the quicker it will be. And the more people decide out of desperation, the longer it'll take. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment bar. So, to wrap up, and I'll be wrapping up in about a minute if there aren't any questions or comments, is go to erasingfamily.org, click on Share Your Story, and you can leave a video tribute for your kids. It must be less than 3 minutes long. You can review it before you upload it. And it's all about a message of hope for your children. It's all about a message of love, what you miss, what you want to do when you see them again. And we also have a survey where you can go into detail, as much detail as you want about your actual case. And we'll be using some of these videos in our film, and we'll also be making additional content and sharing them on the web. And also hopefully getting the kids to see them as well, because they're tributes for your kids. The other thing before we wrap up is June 8th in DC, we'll be having a fundraising event featuring Dorsey Pruder and Dr. Craig Childress. I'll be there. We'll be showing clips for the film. And we will also have reunited erased families there. And it's part of a few days where Dr. Childress will be presenting a petition to the American Psychological Association asking that they recognize this abuse. So it'll be a press conference, so it's going to be a very exciting event. And also, we are wrapping up filming, which is great. We're going to get into the editing and post-production, which takes some time. But the big news is that we've secured an award-winning team on post. Sean Jarrett, who edited Holy Hell, which is on Netflix and premiered at Sundance, and another film that premiered at Sundance this year, will be the editor. We have a supervising editor who has won 2 Academy Awards and has been nominated 7 times and won too many Emmys to count. And we also have Rupert Russell on, who is going to be writing the script with me. He has a PhD in sociology from Harvard. He was educated at Cambridge, and he also wrote a film and directed a film that just won Slamdance Audience Award. And I'm very excited to have him because he's going to really help make sure that our research is really spot on. So let me go to the comments. Marshall Susan, how to respond when someone says, oh, well, she'll be 18 soon. It's abuse. Abuse doesn't have an age limit. And I'll email you this later too. So Marshall, when someone says she'll turn 18 soon, what I respond with is that I know a lot of parents hold out hope that when the kid turns 18, they'll get back to them. But if they have been brainwashed their whole lives, often that doesn't happen. But even if it does, and I hope it does, years of erasing a parent causes lasting psychological and even physical harm. Because that is years a child has been denied their identity, and their identity is an important part in enabling them to grow up to healthy, happy adults. They feel abandoned when they weren't, and they're much more likely to engage in risky behaviors, including alcohol and drug abuse, self-harm, contemplating or acting on suicidal thoughts. They don't do as well at school. But the worst thing is that these kids, because this is what they've learned, that it's okay to erase a parent, are often there's 3 things that can happen. 1, they get so scared of relationships and having kids, they say, not for me, better to be single, not going there, don't want to put a child through what I went through. Or they have kids and they become the victims, they become erased themselves. Or because they learned a parent is just someone you put there and take out when they get a problem, they'll erase the other partner. These things, erasing a parent has lasting generational effects. Many times the cycle repeats itself, and we as a society can do so much to end this cycle. This is not an inevitable part of divorce, any more that domestic violence is an inevitable part of marriage, any part that's hitting a child is an inevitable part of parenting, any more than smoking a cigarette is an inevitable part of being a teenager. These are public health crises that we have begun to solve. It wouldn't be great if half of all kids have divorced and separated parents, I think even more now. If we could make this process as healthy as possible so they don't have lasting psychological harm. Because I'm an adult and I can wait until my daughter turns 18. But her brain development can't wait. Her emotional development can't wait. And the fact that she has access to a loving mom or dad and a whole loving side of the family of relatives, of aunts, uncles, grandparents who would love to be in their life and expand her circle of love, and she's denied that, is one of the biggest crimes I can think of. Because when a child loses a parent to death, that's a horrible tragedy. But when a child loses a parent to people who want to make money off of their case from the courts, that is a disgrace. So that is what I would say when someone said that, because, you know, Some kids do at the age they turn 18, boom, they find that parent. Some it's a little later, maybe when they turn 21, or there's some inciting incident. I've done other videos about what those inciting incidents can be, such as a personal crisis, a new boyfriend, or some sort of information, a coincidence, they run into each other. But that reunification, as sweet and as beautiful it is, doesn't erase the abuse and the trauma. I've been interviewing kids in my documentary who have reunited with their parents. But they talk about having nightmares, walking visions, flashbacks, cutting themselves to relieve the pain, unable to graduate from high school in some cases, even though they're super smart kids, right? And it was, but they had that parent there. The parent wasn't dead. These are orphans of living parents. These are kids who won't be able to say goodbye to a grandparent when they pass away because they have been prevented to, they've been installed with hatred. Brian Malkin, Children's Amazing Foes, congrats. Brian Van Achten, Warshak, also a little different, but same message. Yeah, there's a lot of great people out there. Brian Malkin, ACEs. Yes, our film will contain a lot of information about ACEs. ACEs is the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, which basically shows, and this is from the Center for Disease Control, big study, hundreds of thousands of people. So this is not some like crazy, gooky medical thing. This is, major universities, Center for Disease Control behind it. And they found that prolonged toxic childhood stress, so not like one bad instant, but when you're you lose access to a parent abuses you, which is basically what's happening to your kids, not only do they suffer psychological damage, which is pretty obvious, and emotional damage, but it increases their risk for heart disease, cancer, risky behavior like suicide and stuff like that. But there's the good news of the study, because that sounds really awful. So there's the good news. ACEs can be reversed in two ways. One, by providing therapy to helping people deal with the stress, and the other, surprise, surprise, removing the stressor, which means reunification with the parent who has been rejected. Will we be able to buy your film? Yes, Vera Serino, but we are working to make it as low cost as possible, possibly free, and we want to do tours of schools and universities. So when it comes out, we want everybody to be able to see the film in the easiest way possible. That to me is super important. That's why we're asking for donations now, so we don't have to charge a lot for the film later. Because we want kids to see it and adult children of divorce to see it. And honestly, millennials, they don't pay for content. So if I say, oh, you can see the film, but it's $10, those people won't download it, or they'll look to pirate it anyway. So I want to create it like on a platform like Netflix that's nearly free, or somewhere where it's pretty free, Can we buy the doc and workbooks to donate to schools and libraries? Yes. Again, low cost or as free as possible. And not only will we have workbooks and PowerPoints, because one of our projects is to get people who say, what can I do to help them, give them tools to be able to show the film and actually make a presentation alongside it with the PowerPoint to school boards, PTAs, Kiwanis clubs, churches, temples, community organizations. But beyond that, and I haven't said this before, I am working on 2 books. One is a book for parents and professionals where we will take all the material that didn't make it into the film, put it in a book format so you can see in depth, the conversations between the reunited families and experts and tips. But I also, this is surprising, there's no books out there for adult children and teenage children of divorce, like nothing. I looked in Amazon. If I am wrong, please correct me out there, internet. I have called up specialty publishers, and they have lots of books for kids under the age of 12, but nothing for a 16-year-old, nothing for a 25-year-old, which to me is crazy. So I also want to create a book or maybe an app for adult children and teenage children of divorce, and it'll be focusing on helping them heal and obviously reuniting, but it's not going to be a book titled, a step-by-step guide to reunification, because the kids are going to be like, why would I want to reunite with my awful parent? So it's going to be about healing after divorce, and one of the big steps is getting back in contact with lost family members. Someone asked, Regina Marie Delvin Valentino, how can I see your first film, Erasing Dad? Go to erasingfamily.org, okay? And on the site, we have that embedded from YouTube. It's in Spanish with English subtitles. And one thing that I'm very proud of is I've interviewed a lot of mothers who've seen the film, and they said, I thought it'd be a film against mothers, and it's so not. It's a film against the system, and it's a film that just shows how kids need both. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of, that it's not a film that attacks a parent, and it's not about putting blame on a parent. Because people, you know, they might be crazy and they have mental health issues. They might have been taught this. I don't know. The problem is the judge and the system that allows it, and the problem is that people make money off of it. The problem is the professionals who do nothing. The problem is charging people their entire life savings to see their kids. That's the problem. Because if someone is crazy or has a personality disorder, I mean, you know, that's awful, but like, you can't blame them for it. But you can blame all the people who stood by and did nothing or made it worse. Definitely will write the book, working on it. So Sonia Renee, the alienating parent somehow found out that I was in this Facebook group and sent a message to me through someone else, the grandma, that now we definitely won't see our grandbaby now. That is so horrible and sad. You always need to be careful about where you tell your story and if it will impact you, but for a lot of parents, unfortunately, the situation can't get any worse. So when I did Erasing Dad, a lot of the, you know, I'd always tell people, like, look, because people say, I want to be in your film, so I'll get to see my kids. I'll say, look, I have to be honest with you. There's 3 outcomes. One, nothing changes because you're in a film. I remember that there was one guy who we interviewed in Erasing Dad in the film. Very good case in that he was basically accused of speaking, he's a Russian immigrant, he actually lived in the US. His big crime was speaking Russian to his kid and trying to be bilingual and not letting him watch TV. It's his parenting style, right? I mean, great, he's teaching the kid Russian and reading books instead of putting him down in front of a TV. Can't see his kid. Goes on tons of talk shows. Last time I checked, there's been no movement in his case. Then there's other parents in the film who have reunited with their kids after they were in the film. And then, this didn't really happen in the Erasing Dad, but it could happen. Things get worse and they're retaliated against. But everybody who I talked to in the film, I said, you know, you could, I don't think it would happen, but you could end up in jail for this. This could make your case worse. Everyone said, it can't get any worse. I'm on year 5 of no contact. So I always tell people to protect themselves. Be careful about what you post. Always make sure you're talking about the system and your kids. Don't post up on Facebook about your ex. And I did a whole video about this. And I did another one. I might have to do another one because people say, but my ex. I'm like, don't go there. Don't talk about them. Never mention your ex. It's like they don't exist. Mention the judge. Mention the system. Mention the people who don't help you. Mention how much you love your kid. But blaming your ex, it doesn't help the movement because people think you're just a crazy, bitter person. And if your kid sees it, then they get into this big loyalty conflict. And you always want to say, I want to add love to your life. I don't want to take any love away. And trust me, if they live with a crazy person, they'll figure it out on their own. You don't need to tell them about it, okay? They know better than you do. Sonia Renee, I never talked about the alienating parent. And that's true. I'm not saying that you did. I'm saying that it's very unfortunate that it happened to you. But also, sometimes with these cases, you might do everything perfect the way the other person wants. And they just use everything against you. So I don't know, you go back to school and get a master's degree. Well, you know, obviously you don't care about your kid because you're too busy studying. You know, you go to church. Well, we don't want our kid with a religious fanatic. You don't go to church. We don't want our kid with an atheist. You eat meat. Well, we don't want our kid eating unhealthy food. You are vegan. Well, we don't want our kid with a vegan health net. I mean, I've heard so many excuses to keep a parent from another parent, from the kid. You know, they basically are blaming you and want to keep you silent. So always be careful. And there's a lot of people say, I'm too scared to share my story. I say, don't do that. And always keep in mind that anything you post on Facebook, even if it's a closed group, it's public. Anything you write, like even text messages, like with my phone, I won't text message people anything or Facebook message them anything that I don't want anybody else to read. Because it's like that's the day and age we live with. I'm not saying that's okay, but you know, these things can be used against you. Amanda McDowell, the whole situation has made me feel crazy. I'm so sorry that it has. You're not alone. Please find support. Please find therapy, a support group, meditate. And I did a whole video, I think it's episode 2, about self-care with some good tips about how to take care of yourself. I remember that by making yourself feel better and feel happy, don't feel guilty about that, because your kids need you strong and healthy and sane. So don't ever feel bad about being happy, because so many kids, they say they're attracted to that parent because they were able to get through this and be strong, and they need a figure of strength in their lives. Is there anything else? If not, just remember, please go to erasingfamily.org. You can watch our first film, Erasing Dad. You can see our public service announcement, Erased Mom with Tamara Judge. You can see a video of us on Real Housewives of Orange County promoting the Erasing Family documentary. You can also share your story. Just click on share your story, make a video tribute for your kid. And if you are in the DC area, June 8th, we'll be having a fundraiser. If you can volunteer and help, please contact us. And keep rocking. And remember, you are not alone, and we're doing everything possible that this stops. And it will. Remember, people used to smoke all the time. People used to hit their kids all the time. People used to do a lot of horrible stuff all the time. And it stopped because it became socially unacceptable to do so. And if we can make it socially unacceptable to erase a parent, if we can make it socially unacceptable to brainwash a child against a parent, if we can make it socially unacceptable to engage in custody battles and using the judicial system to punish somebody, we can end this. We need to start looking at this. Everybody has their own individual story and their own individual work to do to heal and reunite. And that's one thing. But there's one thing you get from this chat today. Your journey to reunite with your kids on a personal level is over here. Parallel to this is our journey together as a movement to change this for families. They go hand in hand, but they're separate. The way you communicate in each of them is separate. When you communicate with your child, it's nuanced, it's gray, it can be, asking for forgiveness, it's listening, it's meeting them where they are. But when you talk to other people who aren't going through this, the press, the public, politicians, professionals, it needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, and it needs to be a position that's very hard to argue against. And it needs to be delivered calmly, professionally, and with love. So sending you hugs, everybody needs a hug. Find someone who can give you a hug. You deserve to be happy. And happiness and calmness and love will help you not only reunite with your kids, but will help all of the parents who can't see their kids reunite with their kids. Because if we are a movement of love and hope, we're unstoppable. A movement of hate and lies and anger, very easy to stop. Very hard to stop love. Love conquers all. Have a good night.